he gets into the 95 of Folks. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away go for the first time. Nicholas Morcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Up now as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons. Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the iFormula League Formula 3 Series. Happy Easter to everyone here today on a lovely Sunday evening as we prepare for round number 9 here once again for the iFormula Formula 3 Series as we gear up for the Japanese Grand Prix here at Suzuka International Racing Course. My name is Mason Heimbaugh with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here. 1080p 60 frames a second as always. This qualifying currently goes underway, and we prepare ourselves for quite the spectacle here today at probably one of the more revered tracks amongst drivers across multiple disciplines here in the motorsport realm. Celebrated by many a driver in the Formula 1 series, the real-life Formula 1 series, and as well here in the simulated version of it here as well, as we start to see open qualifying take underway here, and we start to see drivers begin to put in their times here and see what they are going to do here at this what I have found in my testing, at least in the few laps that I have put here, to kind of give myself a little bit of a better understanding of what these drivers are going to try and achieve here. This is quite the unique circuit. One of probably now amongst my favorites to drive, just given how unique and how every single turn just flows, and it all just comes together and blends together very, very nicely. It is a very great track. And here, as we see Ian Rude, the number 22 driver, make his way through what I have eloquently kind of called mainly the paperclip. It kind of resembles that if you take a look at it, but as they make their way through the paperclip, there is quite a bit more to this track that meets the eye. A lot of fast turns that really put you right on the edge as you are pushing through them, and you'll see that here today as drivers try and do their best to. There we go. We already see Frederick Larson, the number 7 driver, making his way in already. A few other drivers making some small errors here in our bit of qualifying that we have here. 15 minutes in total that we are going to have for these drivers, but they will be able to get back out on track once the race is set to go green here. And at the moment, no one has put in a full lap yet. It looks like Andy Ray Miller, the 333 machine, going to be the first driver amongst the field to be able to put in a time here. Andy Ray Miller going to be with Team Maxwell Racing. Again, going to be amongst the first drivers to put in their first lap time here. And actually, I stand corrected as James Miller, Jake Potts, they put their way up onto the timing board. Andy Ray Miller also coming across the line there to put in a time of 152.19. James Miller coming up at the very tippy top of the pole, which is really kind of not all that surprising. James has shown that he's got very, very good qualifying pace in the past few times that we have broadcasted here with the IFL Formula 3 series. So James definitely knows what he's doing. He's got the great qualifying pace here. Let's see if anyone else is going to match that as they get their tires warmed up here a little bit more and get themselves a little bit more comfortable with their laps here. Again, being out on a open qualifying course, it definitely makes things a little bit more difficult having other drivers kind of in and around you that you have to be mindful of and obviously don't want to ruin their day either. So as we continue to see the rest of the field make their way around the field, around the track here, and begin to put in their first official times here for the day, it looks like Paul Ayala, another driver that is also off track here, that happened to be in a separate part of the track here, but I was looking for a different driver there at the moment. But Paul going to get himself back out on the track here, the number 85 driver. Going to be with Team Mercury Motorsports at the moment, currently sitting, I believe, ninth in the team championship at the moment. So team championship, constructors championship, whatever you would like to prefer to call it here. And I keep saying 15 minutes of qualifying. I don't know where I got that number from. It's 25 minutes of qualifying. I'm not sure where I got that number from. Maybe I was thinking of a different series. But either way, point remains 25 minutes that drivers will have in total to put in the best lap that they possibly can. And Alex Johnson, James Miller, Andy Ray Miller now going to be, well, actually, there's 5 drivers now going to be cracking their way back into the 151 range. And as I speak, more start to work their way into that neighborhood as well. We saw it a little bit in practice. That wasn't unfortunately wasn't broadcasted, given that it's just practice. But we were seeing that drivers were starting to creep their way into that high 151. Well, even for Alex Johnson case, even Alexander Rivera, who is also from what I understand and what information I can gather on my own here, Alexander is a new driver here in the series in the number 8 machine. I'm not exactly certain if he's substituting for looks like a Lumos. I believe that's a Lumos Motorsports livery there. I'm not sure if there's a substitute that is in. Yeah, the more I'm looking at it here, the more that it looks like a Lumos car here. So again, I'm not 100% certain here, but from what I can gather, Alexander is either a substitute or a new driver here in the series, one or the other. But is showing some phenomenal pace here as he is nearly neck and neck with Alex Johnson, the 196, and also the previous race winner coming in from last week's race from the Hungarian Grand Prix, winning the sprint race, winning the Grand Prix for Intend Sim Racing, but for Team Maxwell Racing, it was the 333 driver of Andy Ray Miller who came home with the sprint race win at the Hungarian Grand Prix. So we're going to see what these drivers have in store here today at Suzuka, as again, this is a very flowing, very technical track that I have personally found that you can make a lot of very, very easy mistakes in, as we're watching Andy Ray Miller, the 333 machine, as he tries to send it here into what I consider to be one of those places where you can make those mistakes. A very, very easy part of the track where you want to push it just a little bit more and try and get a little bit more mile per hour or kilometer an hour, if you will, out of that turn. And sometimes it just does not work in the driver's favor. Ian Rude here, the number 22 machine, currently 11th out on the timing tower with a 152.668 as his best time here. Again, these drivers going to be within tenths of one another, which is another thing that I absolutely love about this series in these drivers, is just how close they actually are with pace. As we, again, gearing up for both our feature and our sprint race, it is going to be a phenomenal day of racing here at Suzuka. I am more than certain of that. So at the moment, as we continue to watch the field and see what times they can put in here, Andy Ray Miller, the 333 machine, another mishap here through the same section, trying to recover from that one and see if he can improve the next time around. But here is James Miller with Team Noxie Motorsports here in the number 9 machine, currently sitting third. Alex Johnson still in first. Alexander Rivera still in second at the moment. So the top three haven't changed. Andy Ray Miller still in fourth. Marion Barbaro in fifth place. And Jeff Schroeder in sixth. And Victor Solona in seventh. Frederick Larson in eighth place. Jake Potts in ninth. And Rolly Schilter in 10th place here at the moment. Rolly is another new driver, another new name, at least I should say, that I have not seen yet this season. So I'm not sure if there is a substitute here for some drivers, but I will figure that out as time goes on. But we continue to see a few drivers here and there finding themselves trying to find their limits here. And here Tristan Marshall, the 114 machine, actually a different part of the track than I was possibly thinking here. Indeed it was. Okay, so what is referred to as the, it was this, something about a spoon. The spoon curve. That is what it's properly referred to as, and I gotta say, it is adequately named so. It is quite the interesting turn. We'll take a ride on board here with Tristan Marshall, the 114 driver, and just kind of give you folks at home an idea of what it's like here. So, you enter into it, you exit out of the first apex, and you go into it here again, and you exit out here out of the finale, I suppose you could say. But what really doesn't do it justice here, Tristan Marshall making it look absolutely easy, is just how easy it can be to overshoot that entire portion of the track. It's taken in with too much speed, too much heat. It will not end very well. Granted, there is quite a bit of runoff, and it will come at the cost of an off-track point, but I would say that's better than running into the sand or the gravel or in any of the alternatives that we have here. So, but again, we have the multiple S's right into the first turn here at Suzuka. And after the S's, you head into a long left-hander, short straight into turn 8 and 9 with a sharp right-hander heading into turn 11. Hairpin of turn 11 right after that, and a long bend, which is considered a turn 12 here, and then into the spoon curve of turn 13, the multi-apex turn there. Into a long straight, heading into turn 14, a very fast left-hander into a tight chicane of turns 15 and 16, and exiting out of the final right-hand curve of turn 17 onto the front straight and across the checkered line. That is essentially a rundown of what it is like here at Suzuka, and again, as we continue to just see different drivers, Frank Beezer being one of them here, the number 61 machine, finding himself just not having a great time here, trying to get, the key thing that I have found when I was turning laps here, just trying again to get a better understanding of what this track is like, and really the biggest thing that I found was tires are absolutely critical, if not vital. You have to have those tires warmed up and really have to be on top of your game throughout this race. I can't tell you how many times I made the mistake of going out with cold tires and trying to, run a hot lap, if you will, and it just would not work in my favor. It always ended in catastrophe. You have to be gentle in the first lap or two once the race goes green here. And here in qualifying, really just kind of give your tires a lap or two before you really start to get on them, to really let them warm up and start to grip onto the track here. And again, this is at least from what I have found during my testing, and I was not exactly pulling the same times that James Miller, Alex Johnson, and Alexander Rivera were pulling here. I was about 3-4 seconds off of that here, about 154 range is where I was at. So a little bit towards the tail end of the field here for my sake, but again, just trying to get a perspective up here in the booth. And again, also, which is something I failed to mention at the beginning of the broadcast, this is actually the first time I will be here for a broadcast here at Suzuka. So it is going to be not only an exciting race for hopefully everyone at home, but it's going to be an exciting race for myself, getting to witness a race here for the very first time, not only in real life or in sim racing. This will be the first race that I will have witnessed here at this circuit. So I am truly honored and excited to be the one to bring you all the action here for, again, round number 9 of the Japanese Grand Prix for the iFormula League Formula 3 Series right here on the Team Goon Squad channel. And it is going to be a fantastic day here on Easter Sunday, as we have only just under 10 minutes left to go here before we see qualifying wrap up, and we get ourselves ready to go for the first race of the day, which will be our sprint race here for today. Oh boy. Frederick Larson coming through the S's here. Again, another area of this circuit where it's very easy to kind of underestimate it. And really try and push through them, and it just will eat you up and spit you out just very, very quickly. Let's take a look on board here with Victor Solona, and let's take a moment here while we have time, and let's just ride on board here with Victor and have a listen to the sights and sounds here at Suzuka Circuit. Tough break here for Victor Solona, the number 99 machine, finding himself in the gravel here after a very, very good looking lap here that we were just on board there for a moment. But as I'm getting information here from our chat here as well, our very, very helpful Alex here in the chat telling me that Rolly, the number 125 machine, is running for John Journey on Intend Sim Racing. So John Journey again is not here today, but so Rolly is going to be taking his place here today for the Japanese Grand Prix in the number 125 machine, and Rivera, Alexander Rivera, in the number 8 machine, currently in third, will be the new driver for Knox Motorsports. Cody Grahams will be out for the rest of the season, so Alexander Rivera will be out there racing alongside his teammates James Miller, Jake Potts. James Miller and Jake Potts, I believe, are the two teammates there. James Miller is here today, and Jake Potts are also here today, so that would make all three of them currently all in the top 5, which is, here in qualifying, a very, very promising start here for Team Knox as they gear up for just under 5 minutes left here in qualifying and just a little bit of time left here. And James Miller actually able to squeeze his way into the number 1 spot here ahead of Alex Johnson. Johnson was there for quite some time, but now going to be starting theoretically here in second place, but still a few minutes left here in qualifying before we officially can say that that these drivers are going to be starting in these positions here. Anything can still happen, and we'll take a look here on the front wing camera here of Frederick Larson, the number 7 machine. Just have a little bit of a different look here for just a second, but again, as we gear up for what will be, I think, probably one of the most exciting races of this season to look forward to. I gotta say, this is going to be an experience in of itself here, as Rolly Shilter is going to be in the grass here. I'm not sure exactly where on track this is. He's going to bring it back down into pit road, bring out the tow truck, and bring it back down into pit lane to recover from whatever it was that just happened there for Rolly. But so again, only just a few minutes left, I should say, before we see the checkered flag fly for our qualifying session, and we will see drivers make their way back down to the starting line and get gridded up for the start of our sprint race here today. If I recall correctly, it is in that order. In that order, it is the sprint and then the feature. If that is, if I remember correctly here. But either way, we will find out in just a few minutes. And at the moment, James Miller, Alex Johnson, Alexander Rivera, Jake Potts, and Victor Solona currently in the top 5. Marian Barbaro, as he makes his way through the chicane, the final chicane, or really the only chicane. Well, is it the only chicane? Yes, it is. Okay, it is the only chicane. So the only chicane, the final chicane, I guess you could say also. Marian getting a little bit up on the curb here on the number 13 machine. And really, these Formula 3 cars are not a big fan of curbs. They are very easy to get unsettled here, and these drivers have to be cautious of some of these curbs that they have here at Suzuka. They can definitely get your balance unsettled here and really get that rear end out from underneath you. Yeah. Anyway, as the top 5 have pretty much locked themselves out, we've got a few different drivers trying to make some final attempts here to improve their lap times here at the moment. Paul Ayala and Ian Rude, it looks like, going to be near one another here, as there's just under a minute left here in qualifying. Essentially going to be the last lap that these drivers have before we see the end of qualifying here at Suzuka, and we get prepared for the start of our sprint race here today for the Japanese Grand Prix. And it is the feature race first, not the sprint race. Okay, I had that backwards, but that is all right. So at the moment, we'll see if... Oh boy, Paul Ayala not having a good time on the exit of... Well, there we go. Checkered flag is going to wave here, and that is going to conclude our qualifying session here. Drivers immediately going to make their way back down to the starting grid. And we are also going to run through our starting lineup here for today's race. For the Japanese Grand Prix, James Miller, Alex Johnson up in the front row, Alexander Rivera, James Potts in our second row, Victor Solona, Frederick Larson in the third row, Andy Miller, Marian Barbaro in the fourth row, Rachel Jimenez, Jeff Schroeder, in our sixth row, Justin Pastori, Rolly Schilter in our sixth row. And then moving ourselves down the grid here, row number 7 is Paul Ayala, Ian Rude. 8th row, Kenneth Paul and Jacob Beezer. 7th row is Frank Beezer and Arturo Mayorga. And I meant to say, I meant to say 8th row. 9th row is going to be Tristan Marshall and Ted Kuhlman. 10th row is Randolph Smith and Jack Clark. And Nick Marshall and Lennart Schneebel going to be in our final row here tonight. As we have just under a minute left before the lights are counted out here for our drivers, and we await for our first lap here at Suzuka. And drivers patiently awaiting for the lights to start here and for the race to officially begin here at Suzuka. And just a patient few moments left before that happens here today. Just about 10 seconds remaining, and we will see the start of our Japanese Grand Prix here for round number 9 of the iFormula League Formula 3 Series. And here we go. The 5 red lights. And here we go. The first lap of Suzuka. Driver scrambling in the back of the field, looking for some room here as they navigate through the first turn and the first set of S's that we have here at Suzuka. So far, so good for the majority of the field, and as we make our way through the first set of S's here, most of the field looking rather calm and steady here. We'll see if the blimp cameras can get us a little bit of a better view. Not quite better, but as we make our way out of the trees there, we can start to see a little bit more action developing here in the midfield and beyond. But for the most part, most drivers going to be single file as they work to secure any spots that they can. And it looks like we've got Jacob Beezer making some moves here around Rolly Schilter into the 13th spot. Alexander Rivera, big trouble here for the number 8 driver, the new driver for Noxie Motorsports. And even more trouble in the hairpin. Multiple drivers involved here. Lennart Schneebel Jacob Beezer, Nick Marshall, all getting involved in this one. It is absolute chaos here on track at the moment, but towards the front of the field, everything still going as best as one can hope here. Absolute chaos here throughout the field, but towards the front of the pack, still racing to be had. James Miller, Alex Johnson for the lead, side by side through the final chicane and out of the last turn onto the front straightaway. Still nearly wheel to wheel. James Miller going to have the advantage going into turn number 1. Alex Johnson gonna have to put up a heck of a fight here going into turn 1, and he is going to do so. James Miller still having the inside line advantage as they're gonna work their way through the first set of S's. Johnson gonna stack up behind the rear wing of the number 9 and give him some room here. And Miller gonna continue to try and push his way a little bit further away from the 196 driver and continue on with his lead. A little bit looking further back, we see drivers really keeping things patient and keeping things calm, not trying to make any aggressive moves this early on in our 21-lap race feature that we have here today. As we're going to keep an eye on this action up here towards the front of the field with James Miller and Alex Johnson. Johnson getting real close here to the rear end of that number 9 machine, as we're going to ride on board here for just a second with the 196 driver as we head into the spoon curve. Miller going to have the advantage with the inside and continues with great pace and momentum. And Johnson right on his heels, but now Victor Solona also going to be a potential target here as well, working his way, closing in on the number 196 of Alex Johnson as they continue their fight. Johnson going to take it in on the inside. Miller makes contact. It is trouble out of the final. Oh no, the fast left-hander of turn 14. It is big trouble here. Miller going to recover from it and exit out of the last turn. And wow, but not without huge losses here for Miller. But even more so, oh my, oh my. Alex Johnson has the worst end of it. Still here trying to oh, that is a beat race car. Wow. Quite literally limping it into pit road. Oh, he is mad. He is definitely upset after that one. That is a huge loss. Oh boy, very close here for Jeff Schroeder, the number 73 driver. And I want to almost go back and take a look at that incident that we just saw. But we've got action here between Jeff Schroeder and Andy Ray Miller. Let's keep an eye on this for just a second. We'll go back and we'll take a look at the race restart as well as the incident that we just saw between our race leaders. As our new race leader, Victor Solona, takes a very impressive, oh boy, James Miller getting very close to the tail end of Jeff Schroeder. Andy Ray Miller going to be on the outside of Miller here as James continues to try and work his way back up to the front of the pack. Riding on board here with James Miller in the number 9 machine with Noxie Motorsports. After huge contact with Alex Johnson, it is a miracle in my eyes that James isn't having to go down into pit road due to damage or anything of that nature. These cars are, I mean, they're not exactly, gonna just break at the slightest blow of the wind, but they're also not the most durable of race cars, if you will, either. And that was some very gnarly contact. And now that we have a bit of a break here between the field, let's take just one quick look here at the, oh boy, Alex, buddy. Oh, this is just awful. So leading up to the incident here, Alex Johnson goes to the inside. They go wheel to wheel, and man, the rest is history. And it actually, if we go back, we're going to take just a second here just to rewind this and go back and take just a quick gander, see if we can get a different camera angle on this. Hopefully, oh dear, this is going to be quite the... So right there, they go wheel to wheel. James spins. Alex goes into the wall. James spins and does a full 360, is able to get himself pointed back in the right direction, but is now in the sand, having to recover from that, and does so successfully. So maybe not as much damage done to the number 9 machine as I initially thought. It definitely probably rattled James's cage there a little bit, and I'm sure he's probably counting his blessings after that one, because again, that could have ended a lot worse. Jeff Schroeder, the number 73 machine, showing a little bit of wanting to push his way up further in the top 5, currently holding on to that 5th place spot with Andy Ray Miller hot on his tail at the moment. We can take a look at that battle here, just a little bit of a different perspective here, taking a look out the rear wing of the number 73 machine. You can see the 333 of Andy Ray Miller just behind Andy Ray Miller, fighting for Team Maxwell Racing, and Jeff Schroeder going to be fighting for Intend Sim Racing along with his teammate Alex Johnson and John Journey's substitute, Rolly Schilter, who unfortunately had a bit of an incident earlier on in the race, and we might be able to go back and take a look at that here at some point if we can go and find it. But at the moment, Victor Salona is going to be the driver to look out for, and really going to be the driver I think is going to be feeling on top of the world here with Team Get Good Racing here for the number 99 machine. And one other point that I have not mentioned yet is, and something that I kind of found out before the race started, was that for this race, the fuel limit was not properly set going into today's race. And now, normally for the iFormula Formula 3 Series, there is a 50% fuel limit. What that means is that it basically enforces drivers to come down into pit road and get tires, fuel, so on and so forth. But what that means today is that drivers don't necessarily need to come down into pit road for tires, but they are required, it is mandatory to come down into pit road to get tires. So, while they're not going to be coming into pit road to get fuel today, they still are going to need to get tires, and there will be a pit stop here today. So they didn't exactly luck out as far as not having to come down into pit road, but I'm also not even certain that tires on these cars would last a full 21 laps. Maybe they would. Perhaps they would. Actually, you know what? They probably would. I'm just not that talented, but... Frank Beezer, Tristan Marshall, Arturo Mayorga going to have a bit of a battle here for 11th. At the moment, Frank Beezer sitting in that 11th place spot with Paula Yela, or actually, excuse me, Frank Beezer having a little bit of distance between himself and Tristan Marshall and Arturo. Just a little over a half a second between the three of them, and really kind of spread out amongst this field. That's really the gap that we're seeing amongst most of these drivers here at the moment. So while we have a bit of a break here in the action, we can go back and take a look at what happened to Rolly Schilter, who unfortunately found himself in a little bit of an incident earlier on in the race here, along with Kenneth Paul, Jacob Beezer, and Justin Pastore. This is the incident going into the hairpin. And, oh, boy. And there it is. It just gets worse. More drivers just getting collected into one another. And Rolly actually able to get away from this one. I believe there was an earlier incident in... Actually, no, this is the reason why he's missing that front wing. Big contact. Big contact. And drivers just interlocking wheels with one another as they try to make their way through the hairpin here. But now that the dust has settled, now that things have kind of semi-resolved themselves here, we're starting to see drivers lock themselves in and get themselves really just in the mind for getting this stint over with, getting themselves down into pit road. And speaking of pit road, we've got Jack Clark down in pit road as we speak. Not sure if he's coming in for damage. Looks like he just went up on the jack, so I think he's grabbing tires, and he's still in the car, and there he goes. Back out onto pit road, or, well, back out of pit road, back out onto the track here. I think he managed to get all 4 tires changed in that time. I'm not exactly certain how quickly Formula 3 pit stops usually are with fuel and tires. It's kind of eluding me now at this point, now that I'm thinking about it, but that is all right. I suppose that's something I don't normally pay that much attention to that often. Either way, either how, as we are starting to see Jack Clark make his way back out onto track here, he is going to have to warm those tires back up, and finding himself along with a bit of other competition around him in the form of Kenneth Paul and Rolly Schilter. Jack Clark currently out ahead of these 2 drivers and showing what a bit of fresher tires can do here on a tough circuit like Suzuka. And it looks like actually Jack Clark going to let the 2 drivers on by here. Not trying to be overly competitive here, it seems, and just showing some good sportsmanship overall. A little bit of tires, a little bit of brake, well, probably both, brake and tire smoke coming up from ahead of these 2 drivers, Jeff Schroeder and Andy Ray Miller. I believe that was James Miller just up ahead of the number 9 machine, trying to improve his position and try and work himself up back to the lead or as close to it here in today's feature race with, again, just about, we're pretty close to our halfway mark here today. And really cranking through these laps here today. I'm actually quite impressed. But for these drivers, that's ultimately going to mean that they are not going to have as much time as they may be wanting here. And as far as teams that are looking for points here today, Noxie Motorsports really had a phenomenal start to this race, but unfortunately the tables have turned, and now we have Victor Salona with Get Good Racing at the very tippy top, who could very well come away with today's win, as right now he's sitting at about nearly 8.25 seconds away from Jake Potts at the moment. So Victor doesn't exactly have anything too much to worry about. Granted, he still has the potential of making an error, as does any driver here, which could definitely affect him. But the other thing that he also has to think about is he still has to come down into pit road. That is still a factor that has to be considered by every driver here, and it cannot be ignored. So how that will affect positions here for these drivers, I can't exactly tell you, because I'm not certain when these drivers are going to want to come down into pit road. It is the window is completely wide open right now. I mean, we could see drivers come in right now. We could see drivers come in at exactly the halfway mark. They could come in with 5 laps left to go. I mean, I'm not sure, but I'm here for it. I'm all for it. So, as we continue to see Jake Potts and Frederick Larson fight it out here for second place here at the moment. So let's take a second here to ride on board here with Frederick Larson as he continues his fight for the second place spot. Here, Frederick Larson fighting for Team Orion Legendary Racing. And I think did James Miller just have an issue? Or Jake Potts just have an issue here? Oh boy. So I'm not exactly certain what just happened here. I looked away for 1 second, and all of a sudden Jake Potts is no longer in second place anymore. Oh dear. Finding himself spinning out through the spoon curve, and again, that is one portion of the track that really can show its kind of uglier side to a lot of drivers here. It is very easy to overdrive it through that section of this track. It's very tricky. You're on the edge pretty much the whole way through, and even then, you know, you're not going full speed through that turn or through that section of the track here, as we're seeing Arturo make his way around Tristan Marshall, the number 2 driver, fighting for Team Maxwell Racing, along with his teammates Randy Smith and Andy Ray Miller. Andy going to be up in that 5th place spot, and I don't think Randy Smith is here today. It does not appear so. No. So, Arturo and Andy Ray Miller are going to be fighting this here today for Team Maxwell, excuse me. Tristan Marshall hot on the heels of Arturo, and we can see that as we take a look from the front wing camera of the 114 machine as we approach the spoon curve here once again. And actually, as we are witnessing that, we have Victor Solona making his way down into pit lane. The number 99 driver, our leader for some time now, deciding that lap 11 is going to be the time where he comes down with 10 laps left to go here in the Japanese Grand Prix. You could roughly say about the halfway mark in today's race, but again, I'm still curious as to when the rest of the field is going to make that same decision. Frederick Larson with a roughly 2-second lead over James Miller here at this point. We're seeing Victor Solona now make his way back out onto the track and going to find himself currently sitting in 11th at this point in time. Tristan Marshall going to be right on the heels here as well of or never mind, Victor Solona going to be hot on the heels of Tristan Marshall with that exit here. So, kind of sporadic pit entries that we're seeing from the field. Nick Marshall, Ted Kuhlman also came down into pit road here not too long ago. We didn't get a chance to see that ourselves. However, those did happen. Ian Rude, Jake Potts, we're seeing the action start to form between these two drivers as they head into the chicane and out onto the final turn here at Suzuka. And Marian Barbaro as well, trying to close in on the gap here. And these two drivers, Ian Rude, Marian Barbaro, both going to make their way down into pit road to to complete what will be their one and only pit stop for today's race, with just under 10 laps left to go here at Suzuka. The action dwindling down for a lot of this field, but really what I am most curious about is what drivers like Frederick Larson, James Miller, Jeff Schroeder, Andy Ray Miller, Jake Potts, all in the top 5 are going to do here for their pit stops, and what kind of strategies they've developed here, given the kind of open playbook that they've been given here today. Granted, they still have to make their way down into pit road at least once to grab fresh tires at the very minimum. Like I said, the playbook's open for them. They can make a lot of different choices here, as we're starting to see Leonard Schneebel get right on the tail of Ian Rude. The number 22 driver sends him into the wall. Big trouble here for Ian Rude, missing the front wing now of the 22 machine. And hopefully no other major damage is going to be done here for Ian, as that was some big, well, not necessarily big contact, but great battles happening. Meanwhile, still on the track here, Leonard Schneebel, the driver that we just saw make contact with Ian Rude, still putting up a fight here, trying to work his way up through this field. As the number 88 driver currently sitting in 8th place, finding himself with a bit of pace later in his run, it seems, at least at the moment, as we're taking a look back here with Ian Rude and a few other drivers as they complete their runs, well, complete their first stint here. Tristan Marshall being one of them, the 114, going to make his way down into pit road now as well. Slowly but surely, the field going to complete their pit stops in. Right now, it is only the top 6 that remain to make their way down into pit road here. Arturo Mayorga and Jake Potts both going to be the closest battle that is on the track here at the moment. And again, just awaiting for the top 6 to make their way down into pit road. And while that's all happened here, and actually, while I've been saying this, there is something else to mention, that we've got other drivers that have also have yet to come down into pit road after some time. You can see that on the left-hand side of your screens here with Alexander Rivera, Lennart Schneebel, Kenneth Paul, Jacob Beezer. These drivers have all yet to come down into the pit road. They came down very early in this race here and have yet to come back in here at any point. So, and here Arturo Mayorga, Rachel Jimenez, both going to make their way into pit road now as well. So, again, just a slow trickle that we're seeing. Frederick Larson here at the moment looking fairly confident, fairly smooth here in the number 7 machine, and currently showing, according to timing and scoring, that he's got the pace to keep ahead of James Miller, the number 9 machine. But will it be enough to take it all the way to the end here? With just about 7 laps left to go here in our feature race. And as we're speaking, Rachel Jimenez duking it out alongside Marian Barbaro, exiting out of the final turn of the S's. Oh no, it only gets worse here. Randolph Smith as Rachel, in a very, very in a very interesting spot on the track here, is not exactly going to end well for Randolph Smith, the number 37 driver, as it gets worse for Randolph, and he takes it down into pit road. Kenneth Paul here as well having issues going through turns 4 and 5, I believe. 9 and 8, actually, is what that is. I don't know where I got 4 and 5 from. Anyway. James Miller, Andy Ray Miller, both going to make their way down into the pits at this time, with Frederick Larson, Jake Potts, Victor Solona all going to remain out on track. And actually, Victor Solona coming in on lap 10 was among some of the first drivers to make their way into pit road, kind of in that halfway mark neighborhood that I suppose you could say was guesstimated by us up here in the booth, but not entirely accurate, as again, this was kind of just given to these drivers as an open strategy book, as we've been calling it, given that there was no fuel limit set for today's race, so everyone was fully able to utilize a full tank of fuel as opposed to a 50% tank at the start of these races. So again, potentially a huge advantage for some drivers, but also maybe a wrench in the gears for others. So as we're watching Victor Solona, Jake Potts have a bit of a battle here. Solona gonna be as close as he can possibly try and be here to the tail of the number 41 driver. We're going to ride on board here from the front wing of the number 99 machine, as they're going to make their way up into the fast left-hander and into the chicane here at Suzuka. Only a tenth of a second separating these two drivers. Solona going to take it onto the outside as they come through the chicane. Solona trying to get inside, but it's not going to be enough this time around. Jake Potts, very good work here from the 41 driver and the Noxie Motorsports team driver, trying to defend that second place position here as they work their way into the first turn. And there Jake Potts, on very much older tires than Victor Solona, going to opt to let him on by this time around and try and put on a fight later in the race here, potentially. I'm not sure if that's even going to be a possibility here, but Victor Solona, I think, definitely making a smart move coming into the pits on lap 10 at, again, that halfway margin. Almost kind of an undercut strategy, if you will, but in reality, it's anyone's ball game here today, so there's not really a whole lot that anyone can predict here from anybody. While we have a little bit of time here, while the action is, well, Frederick Larson makes his way down into pit road here after 17 laps here at Suzuka. Currently, our team championship standings, as they are, with 434 points, is Nox E Motorsports. Again, the drivers for Team Nox, James Miller, Jake Potts, and now Rolly Schilter. And in 10 Sim Racing with 428 points, only 6 points behind Team Nox. John Journey, Jeff Schroeder, and Alex Johnson looking to have a little bit of a better day, or at least a better race going into our sprint, and hopefully going forward into the rest of the season here. But with only 6 points. Well, I'm sure after today's feature that's going to change. Maybe not as much as I think, but the battle continues here for third place with Frederick Larson and James Miller. Miller going to take it on to the outside as they come to the fast left-hander. Miller going to have to back off the throttle for just a moment, but also going to put Frederick Larson under pressure as they come into the chicane, and it works in favor for James Miller. Jake Potts, the number 41 machine, finally going to make his way down into pit road as his teammate makes his way on by and trying to break up the air behind him and get Frederick Larson off of the clean air, or off of the draft, as they head it back into turn 1 and into the S's here at Suzuka. Larson continuing the fight here, trying to do as much as he can. We'll take a look on board here from the roll bar of the number 7 driver as we go work our way through the S's. Larson trying to do all that he can to close that gap here from James here once again, having lost a little bit of time between them now. Heading through the hairpin. Great exit from James Miller. Frederick Larson also great time here from both of them. James Miller showing a little bit more pace than Frederick Larson here at the moment, but Frederick showing that he is not going to go down without a fight, or at least not try and make that second place spot without a fight here at all. And with a third place finish, I don't think Frederick would be too upset with that one, but second place is always better than third, and first is always better than the rest of them. So, I mean, you know, hey, you take it as you will. And hopefully I didn't offend anyone by saying that. But we've got great side-by-side battles between Alexander Rivera, Andy Ray Miller, nearly wheel-to-wheel as they come through the chicane and out onto the final turn, and still wheel-to-wheel with one another. Andy Ray Miller going to be the one on top of the battle here as they exit the final turn onto the front straight across the checkered line. Heading back into turn number 1, it's going to be Miller on the inside with the 333 machine. Rivera on the outside with the number 8. Great pace here from the both of them, still wheel to wheel as they're now going to come through the S's. Rivera going to be the one to have the advantage as Miller going to fall back behind the rear wing of the number 8 machine as they're now going to exit the S's here. A little bit of lap traffic also coming into play, but also doing a good job of staying out of the way and not getting involved in this one, as they are now going to approach turns 8 and 9 into the sharp right-hander, heading into the short straight, heading to the hairpin of turn number 11. Alexander Rivera showing that he's still got good pace here and coming back from a very rough, I guess, I don't want to say a rough start, but a very unfortunate start here for Alexander. Coming back here and sitting in 5th place here at the moment. I don't think he will be terribly too upset after a finish like that. But that isn't to say, though, that other drivers may not feel quite the same way, given that we've seen drivers like Alex Johnson, Rolly Schilter, Jack Clark, Randolph Smith, all being put out of the race here due to one incident or another. And it's been a lot of calamity here at Suzuka, but hopefully we will see that change going into our sprint race here today, as we've got Andy Ray Miller going off into the runoff, a little short runoff that they have there through the chicane. And I think both drivers just kind of hesitated as they were about to go through there. Not really too confident with the spacing between them potentially. I'm not 100% confident on that, but it's a possibility. And here we go, folks. Lap 20 of 21. We will see the white flag here in just a short moment. And for Victor Solona, this could potentially be a win here for himself and for Team Get Good Racing, who at the moment only have one win to their team's belt. And for Victor Solona, I think will be quite a pleasing day for himself and for his teammates. His teammate Marian Barbaro going to be currently in 8th place here at the moment, and Jack Clark, who unfortunately found himself out of the race a little bit earlier, going to be falling in the 22nd place at the moment. So overall, I think for Team Get Good Racing, a win is going to be a welcoming experience, as now James Miller, as I'm saying that, coming into the last chicane, or into the only chicane, Miller backs off, but into the final turn, right on the rear wing of the number 99 machine, and there it is. The white flag is out from the flag stand, and Miller squeezes it in between the wall and the number 99 machine and takes it into the lead, heading into turn number 1. Victor Solona going to try and find a response here if he possibly can. Slightly older tires here for the number 99 machine, but is that going to matter here for Victor Solona as he tries to continue his fight here back into the front of the field? James Miller also looking to come away with a win here in an impressive comeback here for the number 9 machine, as well as for Team Knox. After a very, very rough start here today, James Miller putting some distance between himself and Victor Solona now as he makes his way through turns 8 and 9, out onto the short straight, heading into the hairpin of turn number 11. Frederick Larson now going to be back on the tail of Victor Solona as the gap between Victor and James starts to increase. James showing some very dominant pace here in the final lap of today's race here for the Japanese Grand Prix, round number 9 here for the iFormula League Formula 3 Series. Here for our feature race here today. I think it's going to be quite an exciting day here for James Miller, as it is just quite a race to be had here for Team Knox and for James, as we're going to see side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel action. Frederick Larson, Victor Solona make their way through the fast left-hander of turn 14. Solona going to be right on the rear wing of Frederick Larson. Coming in the inside through the chicane, it's going to slow him down on the exit. Frederick Larson going to come out on top of it here in second place, out of the final turn and across the checkered line. Taking it home for second, James Miller with the win here today, and Victor Solona in third. James Miller, I'm sure, is absolutely thrilled with that one here today. He is going to burn it down here out of the final turn, or out of the first turn. And drivers, the top 3, I think, are going to join him in that celebration along with other drivers in the field here. Going to burn it down on the track here. A great, phenomenal race here for our Easter Sunday. A great, great time here for the feature race. And after a huge comeback for James Miller, I think that is going to be, there's no other words to describe it. That is just incredible. The level of commitment and persistence for James Miller to have to be able to come away with that much pace is just absolutely incredible here. We've got a couple drivers that are still making their way out of the final few turns here and coming across the line to finish out their race here today. Kenneth Paul just now being one of them. Justin Pastori, the final driver to make his way across the line here as we get ourselves wrapped up here for our feature race, and we can take a look at our post-race results here for just a moment. You can see that now on your screens as we're going to have a little bit of a warm-up session available for us, and we'll try and get some of our drivers, here in the booth and potentially get some interviews going here. Meanwhile, let's see if we can make this happen here. Well, actually, as we've only got a few minutes here, we'll save our post-race interviews for the end, and we will take it from there. But for the time being, we're going to take a quick, short commercial break up here in the booth. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere, folks, as we've still got more action here. The sprint race here for the Japanese Grand Prix for round number 9 of the iFormula League Formula 3 Series. Stay tuned, folks. Don't go anywhere, as you are not going to want to miss the action that we have left here for our sprint race. Alrighty, race fans, welcome back, and hopefully you are all ready for the sprint race here today at Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix, round number 9 of the IFL Formula 3 Series. As we have just witnessed Team Knox Motorsports coming away with the win here for the feature race. James Miller coming in with a clutch win, and really in the final lap of the race as well. A really great time to witness here for James Miller and for Team Knox, having a rough start to their feature race. A little bit of a better opportunity going into the end of the race here as well. So let's see if that luck continues going into their sprint race with I believe, the top 12 going to be inverted here today for the start of our sprint race. And let's go ahead and run through our starting lineup. Ted Koeman, Tristan Marshall up in the front, Arturo Mayorga, Jake Potts in the second row, Marian Barbaro, Andy Miller in the third row, Lennart Schneebel, Alexander Rivera in the fourth row, Jeff Schroeder, Victor Solona in the sixth row, in the fifth row, Frederick Larson and James Miller in our sixth row. Moving ourselves down further, Jacob Beezer, Ian Rude in seventh, Kenneth Paul, Justin Vasori in the eighth row, Frank Beezer, Nick Marshall in the ninth row, Paul Ayala, Rachel Jimenez going to be in the 10th row, Jack Clark, Randolph Smith in the 11th row, and Rolly Schilter and Alex Johnson taking up the final row here today. As I think that was just a record time for me to go through 24 drivers, but either way, that is just in time for the lights here today, and the 5 red lights will count, and out they go here for, oh dear, out they go here once again for the sprint race. 5 laps that we will see here for the the Japanese Grand Prix, and it is trouble going into turn number 1. It is calamity. Multiple drivers off here into turn number 1, and they're going to have to recover from that one. Jake Potts going to be one of them, missing the front wing of that number 41 machine. Ted Koeman going to be out of the front of the field. Lennart Schneebel in second. Andy Ray Miller going to take up third now, as drivers get themselves single filed out. Ted Koeman goes off track here. Lennart Schneebel takes up first. Arturo Mayorga now also going to be off track. Cold tires coming into play here as they try to get them warmed back up. And it's going to be side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel action, almost interlocking between one another. More drivers getting off track here. Tristan Marshall going to be one of them, heading back up to the front of the pack here. Let's see what the action is going to look like coming into the hairpin. Side by side, wheel to wheel, almost interlocking between them. But so far, it only gets worse back here towards the back of the pack. Rachel Jimenez. Oh, I can't even see who's all involved in this one. Jeff Schroeder, Nick Marshall. I think that was all of them. There might have been more involved in that one, but trying to keep up with the action here as it unfolds. Oh, boy. Kenneth Paul here. Oh, it only gets worse. It looks like a Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton incident from a few years ago. Frederick Larson, Ted Koeman, side by side, and it is going to be calamity as we see drivers working their way through the field here, riding on the nose camera here of Jacob Beezer for just a moment as we come through the chicane out onto the final turn. And what a wow. Lap 1 in all of that already unfolded here. Just absolute insanity throughout the track here. James Miller trying to work his way past Arturo Mayorga, Victor Solona, and now Arturo, as he's going to be right hot on the rear wing here. Victor Solona also closing back in on the gap here. A little bit more action happening towards the back of the field here. But we'll keep on with the action between Victor Solona, James Miller, and Arturo Mayorga, as Lennart Schneebel up in the front of the field, going to be leading the pack and still leading after a very interesting start to our sprint race here today. Arturo getting a little bit off track there. That's going to allow James Miller to move up into the third place spot. Victor Solona following along with the number 9 driver, now going to work their way into the hairpin. Frederick Larson also coming back up into the mix of things, trying to see if he can improve some positions here. Arturo going to have to fend off the number 7 driver. Arturo looking with Team Maxwell Racing, Frederick Larsing for Orion Legendary Racing. The two drivers going to be duking at it as they are essentially fighting for positions in the team championship, as well as fighting for position in race here today, side by side. Not quite wheel to wheel, but that might change as there is more action just behind them. 3 wide, going through the left-hander. It is action here all over. Arturo Mayorga, big damage here for the number 2 machine. And Jacob Beezer, the number 93, the one bold driver to take it 3 wide through there. It ends in calamity here for Arturo, and even more so for more drivers throughout this field as the action just does not stop here at Suzuka. And I am just, frankly, this is just incredible what we are seeing here today. Now the battle for 5th place between Ian Rude, Ted Kuhlman. Going to be fighting it out here for the 5th place spot. More action throughout this field as we are on lap 3 of 5 at this moment. Victor Solona, Randolph Smith also having a slight battle here for 11th at this moment. The number 99 driver, after falling down a number of positions here after being up towards the front of the field, now battling for what will be 11th as he makes the move through the hairpin. But now going to be nearly wheel to wheel with Randolph Smith, and Randolph is going to be looking to throw some defense here as well, as they're going to come into the spoon curve, almost touching wheels doing so. And Victor Solona going to be the one coming out on top of the battle here. Again, a very tricky part of this circuit that is very easy to mess up and to make some very unfortunate mistakes in. As Lennart Schneebel is going to come across the line here, bringing us lap number 4 of 5. We see right now only a few battles remaining out on track, and Victor Solona, Randolph Smith going to be one of them, as well as Jack Clark and Tristan Marshall. Jack Clark, I believe, one of Victor Solona's teammates here with Get Good Racing, and Marian Barbaro as well, one of the teammates here for Get Good Racing out here on track today. But what will be our final lap here in roughly about a minute here, I think is going to end things out here on a huge, huge note for Lennart Schneebel, as right now for Team Alcantech NHR, it is going to be a huge, huge day. As far as I can tell, not having any wins so far this season for Team Alcantech, it is going to be, I think, a fantastic day here for the 88 driver and his team. As we see a little bit of side-by-side action happening between Rolly Schilter and Jacob Beezer. Beezer going to be right on the rear end of the 125 machine. I say right on the rear end, but very close to it, I should say. Trying to close the distance between them as we enter into what will be our last lap here, as we see Lennart Schneebel at the moment making his way through the final turn here and across the checkered line here at Suzuka. The white flag is now flying from the flag stand here, and this will be the last chance that drivers have to make any moves that they might have up their sleeve. And really the only battles that are happening out on track are happening between Rolly Schilter and Jacob Beezer at the moment as they come down the front straightaway. Heading into turn number 1, almost going to lock wheels with one another. They got to be careful, and they make contact. Heading into turn number 1, Rolly and Jacob Beezer both going to find themselves out of shape here. Rolly going to be the one to recover the quickest out of it. Beezer still finding himself having to recover from that incident, and Victor Solona taking full advantage of the two drivers making contact with one another, moving himself up into 9th place. But that is going to put Jacob Beezer in a tough spot here. It continues to get worse for Beezer, and he's going to take himself behind the pit wall and call it a day here for himself. Meanwhile, Jeff Schroeder, Jake Potts, and Marian Barbaro have a slight battle happening here for 13th at the moment. Just about a half a second separating them at the moment. So not exactly, oh boy. Jake Potts, huge error here for the number 41 driver, and that is going to be costly for Jake and Team Knox. And unfortunately for Jake, sitting here in 16th, I'm sure he's probably wishing it was a different turnout. But, still keeping out on the race and still committing to finishing the race, I think it says a lot about Jake and his character behind the wheel. So, definitely not one to call it quits too easily, and definitely something not to shy away from. And Jake definitely has some great pace that he's shown here throughout this race. And a lot of drivers here that we've seen that have had some issues here, they've shown good pace, and ultimately just a few small errors have cost them their race. And I think really Suzuka is just one of those tracks that really defines kind of a driver's track, if you will, if that even makes sense. But that is going to conclude our sprint race here today, and also going to conclude our events here for today. So let's go ahead and move on to our post-race interviews, as we will start to see some drivers make their way down into the waiting room, and we'll take a look at our post-race results while that happens. So taking away the win here for our sprint race, Lennart Schneebel, Alexander Rivera in third, and James Miller taking home the third place spot here for our sprint race. James Miller also taking away the win here for the feature race. Here today as well. So as we've got a few drivers already here in the waiting room waiting for their interviews, let's start with our current winner at the moment, Lennart Schneebel, coming away with the win for the sprint race here today. The number 88 driver showing some fantastic prowess here today, and really having some great opportunities being thrown your way here. Lennart, you did a phenomenal job taking home the win for not only yourself, but for your team. The first win for Team Alcantech. You did absolutely fantastic today, and once the door was open for you, once that opportunity to take the lead was there, I mean, Lennart, what ran through your head in that moment? What was kind of the biggest thing that was on your mind once you saw yourself in the lead?
Well, yeah. First of all, starting I think P7, and the second race, then like nearly everyone crashed out in turn 1. So basically everything was falling into its place, and then I still had some really good pace. Started to pull away from the rest of the field. So yeah, it was just falling into its places, and was not really a gifted win, but it's going into that direction, yeah.
Well, and taking this momentum, taking this win and taking it forward. I mean, what does it kind of give you mentality-wise going into our future races here? I'm actually taking a look and seeing what's coming up on the calendar here. So after this, we head to Road America. Kind of taking away what you've done here and what you accomplished here today. I mean, and applying it, looking forward to Road America. Are you confident heading to Road America? Obviously, a little bit of a bigger track, less technical, but I think given your performance here today, I think it should be a cakewalk for yourself.
Yeah. Well, I like Road America. It's a really good track, but it's also very draft dependent. So everybody can keep up with the lead pack, because if you're leading all alone, then you basically have no chance of staying there unless you have really good pace. So I think I hope that I can keep the momentum up and do something great again next time around. Especially now after the last couple of rounds at Spa and Monza we've raced in. Those were not the cleanest from my side. So it's good to have a win in the back and a bit of momentum as well.
Absolutely. Well, I think you did a phenomenal job here today, not only in the feature but as well here in the sprint, obviously. But I really look forward to seeing what you have in store heading into Road America, and really see what you guys do as a team with Team Alcantech, carrying this forward, taking this win, and trying to see what you guys can achieve moving forward. But Lennart, before I let you go and do your celebrating with your team and fellow drivers, anyone watching the broadcast, anyone at home or in the pit crew that you want to shout out and thank before you go?
Yeah, shout out to my team and to my teammates, and then to my parents, and to you. Thank you for that stream, and I guess see you next time, hopefully.
Absolutely. I look forward to it and hope to get to talk to you again, Lennart. It's a pleasure talking to you. It's always great to talk to different folks from around the world. So I appreciate you taking the time to come up here and talk to me. I know sometimes some folks are a little afraid to do so, but I appreciate your time.
No worries. Thank you.
Absolutely. You have a great one.
Same.
Alrighty, folks. So that was Lennart Schneebel coming out of the booth, taking home the win here for our sprint race and for Team Alcantech. Next up in the booth, we're going to do things a little bit out of order here, but that is the drivers that we have available for us. Up next in the booth is Mr. Frederick Larson, taking home 4th place here in the sprint race, and I believe it was 2nd in our feature. Yes, it was 2nd. So, Frederick, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on your podium for the feature race, but as well as your top 5 for our sprint race. Really, I think a good day for yourself and for your team. Going to take home some good points for Team Orion, but I think ultimately, I'll let you do most of the talking here, but I think you had a phenomenal race for yourself. And do you think that there was a lot of opportunities kind of thrown your way throughout this race, both the feature and the sprint, just given how many mistakes, how many incidents were happening as things were progressing?
Yeah, I would say I was kind of lucky with I think it was lap 2, where the 2 guys in front, they hit each other. That helped a lot. And then I just thought about, I didn't want to go as fast as I could. I would rather have a more consistent race. I did manage to make one mistake, but yeah, that was it. And other than that, I just tried to keep it clean and maybe go half a second slower just to be safe. And it ended up working really great at the end of the race. And yeah, what more? I don't know. It was just actually a pretty good race. I had some pace, which I don't always have, but the setup was just right. And I would like to thank Danny O'Keefe as well for the setup. I'm still using his setup for Imola, I believe. I've used the same setup for 5 tracks this season, and it's a really good all-around setup. So, I mean, he's a magician or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, it was great.
Well, Frederick, I think your performance here today kind of spoke for itself, and really, you did a fantastic job, both the feature and the sprint race. You kept yourself out of trouble and managed to avoid all of the calamity that was happening around the track. But you know, for yourself, kind of taking away what you achieved here today, looking forward into next week's race, heading to Road America. Do you kind of hope to accomplish similar results, or are you hoping to maybe come away with that W?
Maybe the win if the 3 or 4 fastest guys crash. Then I'll go for the win. But other than that, I'll just be happy with a podium. That being said, I actually love Road America, if that's the next track. So I'm usually pretty fast at that. So a podium.
Well, well, Frederick, I certainly look forward to seeing you out on track there, and I certainly look forward to talking to you again if the time does come. But for the time being, Frederick, before I let you go here and celebrate and crack open a well-deserved cold one, is anyone watching the broadcast, anyone at home, anyone in the pit crew that you want to shout out and thank before you go?
Danny, obviously, providing the magical setup that apparently works at every track, or nearly every track. And Eli, who is the team owner, who is letting me drive for this team. So that is also amazing. And yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Frederick, for joining me up here in the booth once again, and I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope to get to talk to you again in another similar capacity.
Yeah, obviously you are.
Absolutely.
Hopefully.
Have a good one, Frederick.
You too.
All right, folks. So that was Frederick Larson, the number 7 driver, taking it home out of the booth here for Team Alcantech. Excuse me. Actually, nope. I'm still looking at Lennart. Taking it home today here in 4th place for our sprint race and 2nd in our feature for Team Orion Legendary Racing. Up next in the booth here, we are going to have Alexander Rivera, the newcomer here for Team Knox. Alexander, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on your 2nd place finish here in the sprint race. And I have to remind myself, or rather, you can remind me, your finish here in the feature race, as it was quite an eventful day for not only yourself but for your teammates, as looks like here finished 5th in the feature and 2nd here in the sprint. So Alexander, I mean, your first day here driving for Team Knox, you know, what at a tricky circuit like Suzuka, I mean, what was kind of your expectations today?
To be honest, I tried to keep my expectations low, just stay fresh, new league, get into it, just put down solid laps. Fortunately, in the feature race, it seems like didn't quite to see the incident, but got together with Victor and put me off at the hairpin. So it put me down quite a bit, but managed to make my way back forward. And sprint race, everything just kind of lined up. Couldn't catch Lennart, but just tried to keep my expectations low, bring the car home for good points finishes, and I think that's what I managed to do.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it was a great day for yourself and Team Knox, but more importantly, I mean, you know, being fresh into the league, fresh into the series, coming away with a podium in the sprint, a top 5 in the feature. Looking forward into Road America. I mean, a little bit less of a technical track that we're expecting, but still going to be still having plenty of its own challenges in its own right. What do you expect next week at Road America?
To be honest, I want more. I mean, qualifying 3rd and, you know, that first lap incident putting me back. I always want more. If I'm not winning, I'm not entirely happy. I mean, happy with the points today, but I want to see if I can mix it with the top guys there.
Absolutely. Well, I certainly look forward to it, especially after what we saw here today from a newcomer. It's absolutely impressive, and I think I can speak from everyone watching that it's going to be a phenomenon to witness. But Alexander, before I let you go here and celebrate and do your celebrating with your teammates and so on, anyone watching the broadcast or watching at home or in the pit crew that you want to shout out and thank before you go?
Yeah, I want to say a massive shout out to Knox. I mean, they picked me up this past week, and they've been nothing but good. Helped me with the setup, helped me with the track. We talked through all the strategy, so they've been a great guys to rely on and just hang out with. So thanks to them.
Absolutely. Well, Alex, I thank you for joining me up here in the booth, and I look forward to seeing you next week and hopefully get to talk to you again. Maybe with that win under your belt.
Hope so. We're gonna try.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to seeing you next week, and you have a good one.
You as well.
Alrighty, folks. So that was Alexander Rivera taking it home for 8th place for Team Knox out of the booth. Coming in last and certainly not least here, James coming in with the win for not only the feature but also the sprint. James, you seem to be on a mission here today to just take away all the wins and really show your dominance here for Team Knox, but also kind of having the opportunity of not having Alex Johnson there for the sprint race kind of maybe helped a little bit, I think, not only for yourself but for a lot of drivers, having such a strong driver not on the track for the remainder of the feature as well as the entirety of the sprint race. But I mean, James, coming away with back-to-back wins here for a tough track here at Suzuka, and especially after climbing your way back up to the front for the feature or sprint race, excuse me. Yeah, I think it was just I think it was phenomenal, James. I'll go ahead and let you finish out your thoughts here on what you accomplished here today at Suzuka.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it on the head. Fortunate but unfortunate, really, that Alex was not there to see that race through. It's more fun to be able to battle. That's why we all do this and invest our time. Looks like he got a little impatient. He was a little quicker early on fuel. Today there was no fuel restriction, so we were probably on different fuel levels as well. And knowing that he's won some races, I think he felt it was his right to get by. I left him all the room on the inside in R30 or whatever turn that is, 130, and he caught the curb and pushed wide right into the side of me. So, a bit unfortunate for him. Very fortunate for me that I didn't take any damage from that, or at least not enough to make me pit. So, very easily, it could have gone the other way. I wish we could have stuck around a little bit, but he wasn't content to follow 2 laps into the race, and that's going to be the result more times than not on cold tires and full fuel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was definitely a very difficult start for today's race given the circumstances, as you just mentioned, with fuel, tires, so on. This is definitely one of the tougher tracks to start on colder tires, at least from what I've experienced, and I think it definitely showed here today. But, James, even despite all of that, coming away with a win here and for the feature, and excuse me when I said for the sprint as well. It was a 3rd place finish for the sprint, but either way.
Right. I wasn't going to correct you.
Well, in either way, taking away a very, very strong performance here today. And actually, as I'm going to check and see what the point standings are looking like at the moment, it doesn't look like they've been updated yet, but either way, carrying this momentum forward, as always, looking into Road America. I mean, you guys are still relatively neck and neck with Intense Sim Racing. What's the goal for Road America? I mean, if things go as well, if things don't go as well for Alex Johnson next week as they did today, I mean, what do you predict could happen for yourself and your team?
Well, I mean, that's what's interesting about the league, right? The format, there's 3 drivers getting points. As far as the drivers' championship goes, I don't think anybody has any, illusions of grandeur and being able to catch him with 3 or 4 races remaining. But, it's a team thing we're going for, and we're very, very unfortunate to lose Cody Graham's our 3rd driver for the remainder of the season. Picked up a new driver in Alexander Rivera, who came out looking very strong. I was not thinking I was even going to be able to pass him. So we pieced together 3 good drivers here. Next week, I know for a fact Jake Potts is a very, very big fan of that track. You may see me being the slowest one of the bunch next week, which is a good sign. When you're looking at the constructor standings. That means we should pretty much have 2 guys right up there in the top 5, and hopefully I can pick up the slack on the tail end.
Absolutely. Well, James, I don't want to take up too much more of your time here today, and I want to congratulate you once again on both your win here today as well as your podium for the sprint. But before I let you go and before you get to celebrating here today, is anyone out there that you want to shout out and thank before you go here today?
Nope, we're not shouting out anybody. We have a job to do. We're going to focus on that, and we'll see you next week at next race at Road America.
All right, I look forward to it, James, and hopefully get to talk to you again in a similar circumstance.
Yep, absolutely. Appreciate it, Mason.
Absolutely. You have a good one. Alrighty, folks, and that is going to wrap up our race here today for round number 9 of the iFormula 3 series here today at Suzuka. My name is Mason Highball with Team Goon Squad, bringing you all the action here today. 1080p 60 frames a second as always. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Catch all the action that we have here 7 nights a week, and we will see you all next week, same time, same place, right here on the same channel for the race at Road America. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Bolts. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Borcel, Sean.
It looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got 3 wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Let's go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.